Ladies and gentlemen, thank you for joining us here today. I'm, of course, Gregor Guy.
My name's Casey.
And for your viewing pleasure, we will be presenting the next episode of Bang Head STEM. So, I will just go ahead and toss it over to you, Casey. What are we going to be talking about this week?
Today we're going to take a more biological focus and focus on animals in the wild. And in a more focused manner, we're going to talk about animal defenses in the wild.
Okay.
Defending yourself from your prey.
I'm curious to see where this goes.
So let's talk about. So basically, animals throughout history have basically been evolving in order to survive. Animals that don't adapt don't survive. Animals that do adapt sometimes still won't survive, but it's a tough world out there, you know what I mean?
That's, like nature's wrath or...
Yeah, there's a lot of things that want to eat you. There's a lot of things that want to hurt you out there.
I know there's actually another term for it, but I can't think of it right now.
Right. Predators and prey. And we're talking about the prey. So, what's the best ways to keep yourself alive out there in the wild?
Guns.
Yeah. Well, that would be one of them. Is actual physical defenses. I guess gun would affect into that. But first we're going to start with camouflage.
Okay.
So you're going to basically blend in with your surroundings so that nothing sees you, hears you, smells you. And also, there's also, with snakes, they smell with their tongue and they're sensing for kind of heat. So you're also like covering up your body heat so that an animal can't identify or find you.
Hate snakes.
And then just say which ones the most famous are. We're going to talk. We got octopuses, right?
Chameleons, I would
and
assume.
chameleons, right? They're the ones that in real time can change the coloring and the way the light reflects off their body to adapt to whatever surrounding that they're in.
An octopus. So I'm actually kind of shocked that can happen with that particular creature.
I mean, to me, it's the shock that it works with any creature. You know what I mean?
On top of that, the amount of light that is, in the ocean is probably fairly limited.
Right.
So that's why it was a surprise to me.
Well, I mean, you would think that they also not only do they do it for camouflage, they also can do it to try to appear more threatening by changing their color to a brighter color.
Okay.
Next thing an animal could do is they could play dead. Do you know what the most famous animal for playing dead is? I mean, there's a famous saying.
Man.
They're all over the place around here. I've hit one with my car at least one time.
You talking about possum?
Yep,
possum. Old possum, as some people like to say, but really, come on, let's be honest, it's a possum.
Yep, and they're playing possum. That's just a term that's used around here for something or somebody that plays dead.
Yeah. Okay. Fair enough.
But like a scavenger, most scavengers don't really care that an animal is dead. I mean, that's still a meal to most animals.
Yeah. Still meat on the bones.
Right. But so here's the thing about that. Not only do possums play dead or act dead by throwing themselves on their back, they also bare their true teeth, they drool saliva, and they excrete an extremely foul-smelling liquid from their anal gland in order to make it appear not only that they're dead, but they smell dead.
Okay. Well, I appreciate that bit of information that I did not know.
Well, there's more disgusting stuff than that coming up.
All right.
So, there's also...
And I also appreciate you making me hate possums even more.
Well, just don't be around their anal gland when they're playing dead. You know what I mean? You got ducks. There's a specific type of duck. I didn't really catch the name of it, but it would remain silent for long enough so that a fox would pick it up. He would bring it back to the den, and then the duck would come back to life and walk right out of the den. So it played dead for long enough for the fox to take it back to its house. The fox would not be paying attention for a second, and the duck would walk right off.
Like just to fuck with them, like mentally, or.
And that's how they're surviving. They get caught by a fox. They play dead. The fox takes them back to the house.
Okay, well, I would venture to say if you wanted to survive, guess what? Don't get caught by the fox.
Well, I mean, that's the easy thing to say, but sometimes the fox gets you.
All right, fair enough.
Next up would be mimicking. So we're talking about animals that basically they look like other animals, so that they don't seem like the prey.
Okay.
So we got like caterpillars that would mimic looking like snakes and acting like snakes. You got moths. I did see the other day moths that have almost exactly the same body type and coloring as hornets. So a moth that looks like a hornet.
Yeah.
Or animals that wear brighter colors, which basically in the wild kind of sometimes most of the time means it's a poisonous animal or an animal that you don't want to touch. And some animals that wear these that sport these bright colors are not necessarily poisonous. They just appear to be poisonous.
Yeah. So if you find a toad out there in the wild in an odd color, don't lick it.
Yeah. Or a frog or anything bright. You know what I mean?
If you do, let us know what happens down in the comments below.
Well, don't do that. Don't do that.
Definitely not a suggestion.
No. So we got here's an example. The Death's Head hawk moth. So this moth has similar colorings and markings to a bee, and it emits an odor that mimics that of a honeybee. And they also make a squeaking sound when they go into the beehive, because they basically eat the honey. They eat the honey out of the beehive, and they make a squeaking sound to make it appear that they are the queen bee in the hive. So that means the bees will now protect the moth.
Did you happen? Okay, quick question. Did you happen to, pull up an audio clip of one of these squeaking sounds?
I did not.
I was just curious as to whether or not it sounds like old people fucking.
Probably not. I would imagine that as an insect, it's probably a noise that we cannot hear.
Okay, fair
enough. Next up, physical defenses, like your gun scenario. So you got turtles, snails. They have a shell. A lot of animals can't get through that shell, so basically that rules out a lot of animals from them being prey to. You got porcupines. They have spikes on them.
Yeah.
I'm not messing with a porcupine.
Yeah,
That's not my kind of prey.
I'm not going down that road either.
Yeah.
And on top of that, they're not really just spikes; they're like barbs.
Right.
So they get stuck in you.
Right, and they stay there. Yep. And then the porcupine just goes about his day, grows another barb. You know what I mean? And then you got crabs. They got their pinchers, but they also use that to eat and hunt as well. But a lot of the things that these animals do have multi roles.
Crabs are scavengers. They don't really hunt.
I would imagine that I have not watched a lot of videos on crabs, but I would imagine.
Live in Maryland. Blue crabs are a huge thing.
I would imagine that the claw is meant to crush shells.
I mean, it's meant to, use that as a, basically like our hands and scavenge and feed yourself.
All right.
Whatever, because they can't swim, so they're just crawling around on the bottom of the seafloor.
Right. All right. Well, maybe they use it just for scavenging. I don't know.
They are the trash pickers
Right.
of the sea, but they do taste delicious.
Yep, I can agree with that. With the fact that crabs are delicious. That is a true statement. Making you hungry?
No, I will venture to say, just as long as you don't contract them in an awkward way.
Hey, sometimes you gotta do what you gotta do.
Fair enough.
So here's an example of a physical defense that is kind of odd.
Okay.
The sea cucumber. It has
What?
The sea cucumber.
I'm unfamiliar with this creature.
Well, it is a creature, and I don't have a picture of it to show you what this creature looks like.
Okay.
But it is a fairly disgusting physical defense
Okay.
where they will eject their own intestines at an animal. And not only will it inject its intestines onto the animal, but these intestines come out of its anus. It entangles the predator.
Where else would intestines come from? Would they puke them up? I mean, come on.
Well, we were talking about anuses before. We're now in double anus territory.
Yeah, double anus. Okay, fair enough.
And then it also has a poison on their intestines. All of their internal organs have some kind of poison.
Some sort of toxin.
Right.
Okay.
Next up, we have chemical defenses. I mean, although we've already stated a few with poisons and
Yeah.
you know what I mean.
You're just gonna give us some odd ones, I assume.
Right. Basically, it's anything. It can be like a poison. It can be anything that tastes or smells bad. That would keep a predator at bay.
Okay.
So I decided to go with the Duckbill Platypus for this one. It is one of the very few mammals that that has a toxin. It only happens in the males during mating season.
Okay.
And they're in their hind spurs, and this toxin is very similar to something that a reptile would create. But it basically whatever the poison gets injected to swells, and it makes blood flow. It basically just makes blood thinner, and the blood flows more heavily.
Mm. So basically, they inject you with Viagra.
Very possibly.
There you go. You heard it first. Stay away from the Duckbill Platypus.
Next up, noise and warning sounds. So I don't really have any examples. Everybody can knows. Everybody, I think, should be able to understand that certain animals will make a noise by either, like birds, for example. If there's a hawk around, the birds will like make a specific noise, and then all the birds will just basically disappear. Basically communication, but it's not only for communication. I mean, I guess you could consider
It's more or less a warning,
like a roar or a squeal or something
or
that makes
whatever the hell was in the fireplace last week.
Yep, and there's also mimicking noises as well, where it tries to sound like a different type of animal in order to scare whatever predator is chasing them away.
Yeah, makes sense.
And then we're gonna go with I do have an example here. The tiger pistol shrimp.
Okay.
So this is
once again unfamiliar with this creature.
This is one of the loudest animals in the world. It is actually arguable between a blue whale and a tiger pistol shrimp.
And it's a shrimp?
Right. So this shrimp creates a sound at over 200 decibels.
And now, is that because it's underwater? Because sound is apparently amplified a lot underwater.
No, actually, I would consider it the opposite. That water is more of a muffling sound.
I don't think the science, as would agree with you on that.
Right, well, possibly. But anyways, it creates a sound up to 200 decibels. The human ear by itself can only stand up to 120 to 130 decibels.
Not me, I'm deaf as hell, so I can withstand probably 160.
Maybe you'll just get deafer. I don't know. So basically, whenever it's getting attacked, it creates a snap with its body. The snap is extremely, obviously very loud, and it is...
So it uses its body to create this noise?
Right. It is a very violent snap that not only could... it could stun or even kill a predator that tries to attack it. And it creates when it does this snap, it creates a bubble that reaches near sun temperatures.
Okay.
So stay away from the tiger pistol shrimp if you don't want to lose your hand.
There you go. You heard it here first. Tiger pistol shrimp. Apparently evil.
Last but not least, this is the S tier of defenses, in my opinion. It's intelligence. Obviously, I'm just going to say that outsmarting an animal or outsmarting your predators to the fact where they no longer become a threat is probably makes you the top of the food chain, and the biggest example would be humans. Because we're animals.
The intelligence, in order to develop gunpowder.
We have gunpowder. How do you think? Do you when you're going from here to work? How many times are you worried about being eaten alive?
Not a once.
Exactly. So we're an animal.
That okay. Well, that could also be different if you are a female. That might go in behind the scenes. We'll see.
That would be voluntary for the most part.
Yes.
So you're driving home from work. You're going to work. You're traveling around like all these other animals out there in the world. They're making camouflage and sounds and mimicking and all that, and we're just walking around with not a worry in the world, because we have created the technology and the barriers are put in place to protect us from being prey to other animals.
On top of that, we'll just run over you with our cars.
Right. Right. I would say that we probably kill more animals than any other creature around the world.
Obviously.
Yeah. So that's my biology. S tier is intelligence. We are obviously on the S tier. We are the top of the food chain. Unless you're an idiot, because there are people that climb into cages at zoos. You know who you are.
There you go. You heard it here first. Human evolution and some lack of intelligence. Well, Casey, thank you for putting that together. This will be our next episode of Bang Head Stab.
Did you learn something? You learned about tiger pistol shrimp?
Yeah, tiger pistol shrimp. Some other stuff.
But about moths that go into beehives and pretend like they're the queen bee, eating all the honey.
Yeah, and apparently make noises.
Yep, squeaking noises.
Squeaking noises.
That may or may not sound like two old people doing the business.
No, come on. Old people fucking.
Hey, it's the same thing. You're just saying it in a different way.
Well, as I said, thank you for putting that together, man. Ladies and gentlemen, I'm, of course, Gregor Guy.
My name's Casey.
And we will see you next week.